conference this year, and the YAPC one was a lot shorter, so I'm giving the shorter version of the talk. If it feels like it's rushed, that's because it is. So I want to talk about social engineering and how it's not just for computers. What happened to my little... Oh, in my pocket. Awesome. Okay, so hopefully my keyboard doesn't give out on me. All right, so how the story begins. I am a developer. I write code in Perl, and I took a lot of classes in junior high and high school and in college. And I don't know how many of you are fans of XKCD. I'm probably standing too far over. XKCD is a great comic. This little couple hour, like one weekend, messing with Perl had more impact on my career than so many other classes that I took throughout my career. So that's where I come from. I love doing software development. I love doing software development in Perl. I think it's a fabulous language with lots of great and weird features to it. But Perl has a bit of a culture. So it's got dynamic and loose typing, auto-vivification. It is more of a do what I mean kind of language than a do what I say specifically kind of language. There's always more than one way to do something. And I think that's kind of the hacker mindset, right? I enjoy thinking like a hacker. And I don't mean necessarily the hacker who wants to break into your computer. I mean more of I want to know how this works. I want to understand how all of these pieces fit together. I want to take things apart and find out what all the little components are. I'm the guy who goes up to Luke and says, what's this thing on the badge? You know, well, what does this sensor do? What does that sensor do? Does that work? No, that doesn't. Okay. So I became just another Perl hacker. How many of you seen the Perl camel? Nobody. Oh, Josh. Okay. A couple of you. Kind of a fascinating little thing that actually prints out the phrase just another Perl hacker if you run it in Perl. If you're a Perl guy, you think that's cool. If you're not a Perl guy, you think, why would anyone write code like that? Well, it's kind of a hobby thing. You know, weirdos do that. So that's me. So after I was a Perl hacker, I realized that some of the things that we do in life that we do in computers actually came from the way that humans operate. And I realized that the operating system that we use for computers are attempts to model how humans work. We want to make our machines hopefully smart like us, maybe not as smart that, you know, we have a technological singularity Skynet kind of situation, but smarter to solve problems for us on a regular basis. How many of you like the problems that computers solve for you? Like computers solving problems, really cool, right? That's great, and I love it. I also like having other people solve problems for me. So that's when I became a person hacker, and I really enjoy understanding how humans work. But then there became a problem, and Perl and this whole hacker mindset created a monster. And so for the benefit of science, we're going to talk a little bit about how that works. How many of you are fans of Portal or Portal 2? Way better graphics in Portal 2, maybe not as good at puzzles. Fun game. So let's talk about a couple of the different experiments that I have done as far as social engineering. The first one, how many of you have heard me tell this story before? The do not move story. So I was working a job that I had a little bit of extra time when I was on a break, and you know, sometimes when you're really good friends with your coworkers and you have extra time and you're taking a break together, bad things happen. So we decided that we were going to run an experiment because we found somewhere in the office a piece of ductwork. It's a metal pipe, maybe 6 inches around, about 3 feet tall, just for ductwork that they use to put heating and cooling and whatever through the building. And we decided that we would go over to one of our printers, to a computer, and print out on one of the printers a sign that said, "Do not move, thanks management." Taped it on there and stuck it in the middle of the hallway, just to see what would happen, right? What do people do when they see a sign that says, "Do not move, thanks management"? Well, the answer to that, we're going to talk about in just a minute. Then also at the same job, because I had lots of free time, I found a box of push pins on my desk. And I was like, yeah, push pins are really weird. And what do you do with them, right? You stick them in the wall. It makes a hole forever. I don't know. Maybe they're not my favorite thing. But I thought, it's in this plastic case. It's a really nice plastic case. What I want to do is I want to open up this lid and just walk around to people and hold it in front of them and see what happens. I'll let you think about what you would expect to happen in that situation. And then this is a new story that I started telling at YAPC, a time when someone attempted to socially engineer me, which was lots of fun. I went to my local home improvement store, and I was going to get a sensor for my Christmas lights. I wanted to have them turn on automatically when it got dark and turn off when it got light so that I wouldn't have to keep flipping the switch. How many of you really enjoy flipping switches? Josh, okay, great. So other than Josh, everyone could probably use this device, right? And I'm going into this home improvement store, walking all the way to the back through all the plumbing and the whatever, and I get to the lighting section all the way in the back, and they have a couple of these different things. And as I'm through these items, a gentleman who is there has two of his dogs in the store with him, not service dogs, just regular dogs, which is kind of odd. And as soon as I walk up to this area, he says, "I know you. You're that guy." And, sometimes that's something that just happens to regular everyday people because people recognize you and maybe you don't know who they are, or maybe they think that you're someone that they know when in fact you're not. But usually that statement is not followed with, "You're that guy that shot someone in that gang fight." And I thought to myself, what? So next story. I worked for a company called Bluehost. Some of you probably know that. They're one of the sponsors here. And I've worked for Bluehost for a long time. One of the things that they have as benefits for the employees there is a rewards program. And when one employee recognizes that another employee does something great, what they can do is send some sort of digital currency to someone else, and they can use these points or whatever to purchase items on some specified list, and they get a reward out of that. And it's really cool. I enjoy it a lot, and hopefully those of you who are here from Bluehost will give me points for giving this talk. No, I'm just kidding. Well, it turns out that I have a really common last name. My last name is Johnson, for those of you who didn't know. And it's either the first or the second most common last name for English-speaking people. That's a lot of people with the last name of Johnson. And S is one of the more common letters for first names as well. So when you get to a situation where usernames for email addresses that are used for reward systems like this are generated based on those things, oftentimes you have a collision. We've actually had someone who had a collision at this conference when I was trying to generate automatically the handles for the Hackers Challenge game, and we had to sort that out. But it turns out that this company that we had the rewards program through didn't sort that out. And so because they didn't sort that out, I suddenly had access to someone else's reward system, and I got all of their credits. And I decided that that wasn't necessarily a good thing, because, it's not very honest to be taking those. And I wanted to see if I could use social engineering principles to improve the world. I wanted to try and make the world a better place. So I decided I would call up this company and see what I could do to take permissions away from myself and give it to the rightful owner. All right, so now that we're done with story time, we're going to talk about the social engineering process. First thing in the social engineering process is research. You need to do information gathering. Find out everything that you hopefully should need to know to be able to interact with another human, what they like, what they don't like, what kind of situation they're in. All of those things are really important in being able to perform any kind of social engineering. Sometimes that research includes going through the trash. How many of you have found something interesting in the trash? Okay, nobody's digging through the trash. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm just weird. How many of you seen some weird paper hanging out somewhere on the ground and picked it up and that's kind of cool? How many of you have found really critical documents sitting on the ground? How many of you knew that they found top secret military documents in a dumpster at one point? It's true. It's absolutely true. People throw really crazy things away. You should be careful about the things that you throw away. But if you're trying to get research on someone, that's a great place to start. Next is planning. You want to be able to come up with a great plan of how you're going to address someone, how you're going to approach them, what you're planning on doing, what your pretext might be. Let's talk a little bit about planning here with this video.
I hate to imagine what the rest of your plan was. How did you get in? Far less effective on a second floor landing. I have an alarm. You do. And your code is your birthday. You might as well take all your valuables and put them right out on the lawn.
All right, so maybe not the best planning, but the way that you plan is important. The way that you plan to defend against social engineering is also important. Then you have to have an approach. Lots of different situations for approaches. Some people prefer a cold approach. Some people prefer a warm approach. Some people prefer I'm down on my luck kind of approach. All of those things are different approaches that can be used in social engineering. Delivery is terribly important. When you are speaking with someone and you want to socially engineer them, or when someone is speaking to you and they want to socially engineer you, the confidence that they have in what they're doing means a lot. I think I have a video for that one too. Maybe I don't. Once again, pinch hitting here. And then extrication, last of all, getting out. If you're trying to perform some sort of social engineering engagement, you want to be able to get out without people knowing that you were there, hopefully without remembering who you were. And if you don't end up doing that, you might need to run.
On your head!
Drafting. He even has little payroll envelopes addressed to himself.
Put it down. Drop it!
Relax. You're late, all right? My name's Alan, Barry Allen, United States Secret Service. Your boy just tried to jump out the window. My partner has him in custody.
I don't know what you're talking about.
What, you think the FBI are the only ones on this guy? I mean, come on. Come on, he's dabbling in government checks here. Been following a paper trail on this guy for months now. Hey, you mind taking that gun out of my face? Please, really. I mean, it makes me nervous.
You see some credentials.
Yeah, sure. Take my whole wallet. You want my gun too? Come over here, take my gun. Hey, look, just do me a favor. Take a look outside. Look out the window. My partner's walking him to the car as we speak. Look. Old guy almost pissed in his pants when I came through the door. He jumped right through the window onto the hood of my car. Hey, Murph. Yeah, call the LAPD again. I don't want people walking through my crime scene.
I didn't expect the Secret Service on this.
Don't worry about it. Well, what's your name?
Henry. Carl Henry.
Mind if I see some identification?
Sure.
You never can be too careful these days. Well, tough luck, Carl. 5 minutes earlier, you would have landed yourself a pretty good collar.
It's all right. 10 seconds later, and you'd have been shot. Mind if I come downstairs with you? I got to take a look at this guy.
Sure thing. Just do me a favor and sit tight for a second while I get this evidence downstairs. You know, I don't want some maid walking through here and making the bed. LAPD should be here any sec.
Wait. Your wallet.
You hang on to it for a minute. I trust you.
So obviously that's a dramatization of the story of Frank Abagnale, a great social engineer, but that's really good delivery. It probably helps that he's an actor. But there's a little bit of acting in social engineering. Of social engineering. You got preloading. That's starting the conversation before it ever gets started. Pretexting, and this is the assumption of a role which you may or may not belong to. In the previous video, pretending to be a Secret Service agent is pretexting. There are some legal concerns with that, so if you choose to do that, please make sure that you consult an attorney. I am not one, so I can't give you great advice on that other than be careful with what you do. Elicitation, this is the process of getting answers to your questions without asking directly. This happens a lot. For example, when I gave this talk before at SAINTCON, on the day that I was coming to the conference to give the talk, I had someone ask me if there was a great coffee shop in the area. And without thinking, I said, I'm not from here, so I don't know. That's a great way to elicit a response from someone because I disclosed information that wasn't even in the question. How many of you would be likely to give that kind of information away in that question? Just about everybody, right? If someone says, hey, do you know of a great coffee shop? Or do you know where the Elizabeth whatever building is here on campus? You say, I don't go to school here. I don't know that information. Well, you just gave out some more information as well. Framing, this is the part of the situation where you want to make sure that you understand what frame of reference someone else is in, how they view the world, and if possible, get them to view the world through your little frame. When you can get someone to view the world through your little frame, you can control just about everything that they are thinking about that. Report, this is how likable you are. How many of you are liking me right now? Come on, a little bit more. Okay. Being likable is a huge differentiator in being able to get people to do what you would like them to do. And if you are not a very likable person, but you would like to improve your relationships with other people, you could try being a little bit more likable. Observation, listening very carefully to what people say. In the last clip that we watched, there's a very important segment where he asks the FBI agent for his identification. And the reason why he does that is because he listened to the FBI agent asking for his identification. Being like someone is very helpful, but observing what kinds of protocols they have established is very important. Influence, this is where you're actually making someone make a choice to be able to disclose information or perform some action that you would like them to do. And those are the core parts of social engineering. Motivators, what motivates us to do things? There are lots of different things that motivate us as human beings. The first one is authority. You know, you say you're not the boss of me. Well, it came true, right? How many of you yelled that at somebody in elementary school? You're not the boss of me. You're not my mom. You're not my dad. We all did, right? Authority has a great influence on us. And if you can exert authority on someone, you have a far greater chance of being able to have them do or think as you would like. Or if someone has authority over you, you're probably more likely to do what they would like. For example, if your boss tells you, I want you to do this report by the end of the day, you're far more likely to do that than if someone from another department who has no influence on your job whatsoever says, I would like you to do this report by the end of the day. That's just how it works.
Yeah. Who's this?
What? This is Mallory.
Oh, is this your friend from work?
What was that? Do you guys have some sort of history, or were you dating, or were you dating her when we started dating?
No.
Don't lie to me.
Well, I'm not. It's just.
How many of you do crazy things to avoid discomfort? Yeah, oh, maybe you're not in that kind of situation, and obviously that's an extended form of slapstick comedy. But you wouldn't do something like that. But if you are willing to avoid doing something that you probably should because it's uncomfortable, you're in a vulnerable position. There's also commitment. How many of you have heard of the movement Because I Said I Would? 2 of you. It's kind of a cool movement. This particular motivator is very, very useful against me, and my kids use it all the time. They say, Dad, you promised you would read me 2 stories tonight, and you only read 1. How much you want to bet that I will read 2 stories that night? Every single time I will do that. And it's because I promise, and I want to feel the value inside of myself of doing what I said I would do. If you said you would do something, someone could potentially use that to their advantage. And then the momentum, the consistency, I want to do what I always do. How many of you parked in the same spot today that you did? Aristotle said it thousands of years ago, and it's still true. Surrender. When you concede something to someone, you're far more likely to concede again. And when someone concedes something to you, you're far more likely to be able to get them to concede again. Fear. How many of you do things out of fear? Yeah, that's not the biggest motivator for a lot of people, especially in a country like the one that we live in, where we don't really have a terribly oppressive regime. But if you feel like you will not be able to feed your family, or you won't be able to be safe on your way home, you're far more likely to do what someone would like. Greed. How many of you do things for money? How many of you have jobs, right? All of you, probably. Greed is a big motivator, and sometimes that's a good thing. It helps us to do things like participate in society and contribute in a way that's meaningful so that we can have jobs. But a lot of times, it's really hard for us to get away from that greed. A couple of years ago, when we passed out Raspberry Pi devices to the attendees of this conference, how many of you were here for that? How many of you remember that there was a phishing email sent out to the members of the con saying, hey, you owe $3 more to be able to come pick up your Raspberry Pi. You need to come pay it at the registration desk. Lots of people showed up to do that because they wanted to get their Raspberry Pi, even though it wasn't legitimate. That's social engineering. If you think you deserve something, you will do crazy things to get that. Our society is full of, I deserve this, or I have the right to this. And we're willing to go to extreme lengths to keep what we deserve. I deserve to be able to have this kind of car, or this kind of house, or whatever it happens to be. My kids deserve an education. And that may or may not be true, but feeling like you deserve something modifies the way that you behave. Inertia. Obligation. How many of you do things because you owe somebody a favor? Yes, raise your hand, you do it. Reciprocation. Someone did something for you, so you should do something for them. That happens a lot. Scarcity. How many of you have seen these little things on Amazon? There's only one left. They're never going to print this book again. You laugh, but when you see that, it influences the way that you view that page, and you're far more likely to make a choice to purchase that item just because of that.
Wait! You're trapped by societal convention. Look, we're in a fine dining environment. Everyone knows not to throw a scene in a fancy restaurant. That's right, you're trapped. Sit down.
Oh, shoot. I see we're trapped by societal convention.
All right, so I show this video a lot when I talk about social engineering, and a lot of people think, well, this is just Phineas and Ferb. It's a Disney animated show. It's not that big of a deal. No one's really trapped by societal convention. Well, that's not entirely true. How many of you have seen this video?
The gentleman in the elevator now is a candid star. These folks who are entering, the man with the white shirt, the lady with the trench coat, and subsequently one other member of our staff, will face the rear. And you'll see how this man in the trench coat tries to maintain his individuality, but little by little, he looks at his watch, but he's really making an excuse for turning just a little bit more to the wall. Now we'll try it once again. Here's the candid subject. Here comes the candid camera staff, 3 of them at least. And this man has apparently been in groups before. You're going to see a fellow who fights a little bit to withstand the group pressure now. He'll express his discomfort in the way he looks and the way he wiggles a little bit, but watch.
All right, so we don't have time to watch the whole thing, but that was filmed a long, long time ago. Black and white video and people smoking in elevators. That was a long time ago, right? That happens in real life all the time. And a lot of the beliefs that you hold are because of that. How many of you laughed at that clip? Social engineering right there. Is that really funny? I don't know. Somebody just got manipulated. Maybe that's funny. There was a laugh track, so it must have been other people were laughing, right? So let's close up our little stories. The reward system, where I was trying to return ownership of an account to someone else. I called up and said, hey, I have access to someone else's account, and I probably shouldn't. Can you give it back to them? I gave them another email address. They hooked it up, and everything was just fine. They checked with their supervisor to make sure it was okay. But they didn't have any way of validating that I was who I said I was. I think that's a problem. In the case of the gentleman who accused me of shooting someone at a gang fight and killing them, the best part of this story is that my best friend was with me at the time, and he said, oh yeah, you totally did that. At which point, I had no choice but to vehemently deny it. I didn't shoot anyone. And I'm almost screaming at the top of my lungs in a home improvement store. I didn't shoot anyone, and I had to get out of that store fast because it felt uncomfortable. I was manipulated through social engineering just because someone wanted to have, an exciting time and accused me of shooting someone in a gang fight and lots of blood and whatever, even though it wasn't me. Could I just have ignored it? Probably. I mean, there was no one else there, but sometimes it's hard and you want to maintain your good reputation or whatever. In the case of the push pins, you might want to try this because it's lots of fun. I walked around, held the push pin box out in front of people. I did not say a word. Everyone took one. I had people asking me right after that, why are you giving me this? And I said, I didn't give you that. I just held it out in front of you. Holding something out in front of someone almost always means they will take it, unless it's food, and then they'll say, no, I don't want to have that cookie or whatever right now. But if it's not food, they will probably take it. In the case of the piece of ductwork that we stuck a sign on it that said, do not move, thanks, management, that piece of ductwork sat in the hallway for 6 weeks and no one moved it. We decided to up the ante just a little bit and put it right in front of the CEO's office so that she had to shimmy around it every morning as she got into her office. We left it there for a couple of days and then decided the experiment was over. But not once did she think, wait a minute, I'm the management. That's not something that I said. So I want to talk a little bit about social engineering ethics. I want you to understand that social engineering is something that we do all the time. You do it to your friends, you do it to your neighbors, I'm doing it to you right now, you're going to do it to your children when you go home, you're going to go talk to someone in the hallway and do it right there. You need to make a decision about where you stand on the line of social engineering ethics, how far you're willing to go, what you think is right. I think you should think carefully about the things that you say and do because they influence other people. We deserve better as a community and as a society. We need to make a change. We should avoid the traps that can befall us and make our own lives better. I want to help you, and that's why I'm giving this talk. But it's your responsibility in the end. You are the one who needs to make the change. You are the one who needs to improve your life, your family's life, your community's life, your employer's life. There aren't enough people helping. There just aren't enough people who even care about this issue. And a lot of people don't know enough about this issue. So please do me a favor and do yourself a favor. Will you please help me? How many will you help me? Yes, I am engineering you right now. And if you didn't notice, it doesn't matter whether you raise your hand or not. You're already doing what I asked you to do. So thank you very much.